Hello, 8th grade. These are your video notes covering chapters 4 and 5. So before we begin the video notes, I'm actually going to update the characters first. You should have gotten the vocab that we looked at yesterday in chapters 4 and 5. That included auspicious and edification. For today, for the characters, we were introduced to some of the neighbor ladies, and those are the ones that I kind of want to focus a little bit on today to make sure you have them in your notes. So the first one that I want you to note is Miss Rachel. Miss Rachel has been mentioned very briefly. We'll see a little bit more about her. So she lives next door to the Finches, and this is Dill's aunt. So when Dill comes to stay, he is staying with his Aunt Rachel. So Miss Rachel is the neighbor. Across the street, we have Miss Maudie. Miss Maudie Atkinson is another neighbor. She's the one who likes to garden. She's considered very open-minded or reasonable. The kids found her to be reasonable. We also heard mentioned, and I did point out when I read this yesterday, that she was a very mean, nasty lady, and that is Mrs. DuBose. So we'll hear more about her soon, but she's the very mean, nasty one. And so one of the school children would purposely walk an extra mile to avoid both the Radley house and Mrs. DuBose, that they were both different ways, but they were both very unpleasant. And then we see Miss Stephanie Crawford. She's the gossipy neighbor. She's the one where they get all of their information about Boo and the stories that they create. Now for our summary. For chapter 4, the column there. The first point, we see the Radley tree has gifts. So the Radley tree now has gifts inside it. So far we have seen gum, and we saw a little box covered in the tin foil that had 2 Indian head pennies inside. So the Radley tree has gifts. We see J, S, and D, so Jem, Scout, Dill, are acting out Radley's life. So not just Boo Radley, but the parents as well, and kind of creating their own story. We have Scout rolled in the tire. So in the opening of the tire, she's sitting inside, goes spinning, and then ends up in the yard of the Radleys. And our last point for chapter 4, Scout hears laughter. So Jem keeps saying, oh, he's dead. He's been shoved up into the chimney. Nobody's there. Okay, but Scout kind of knows in the back of her mind that she's heard laughter. For chapter 5, we're introduced to Miss Maudie. And we particularly see that she enjoys gardens and she makes cakes for the children. So that's part of why they enjoy her company. The next point we have, the kids are trying to get a letter to Boo, which is particularly funny because Jem keeps saying he's not even alive, but then is trying to get a letter to him. So the kids try to get a letter to Boo. They're using a fishing pole trying to get it to land, this letter to land on the window. They are caught by Atticus. They're caught in the act of trying to get the letter to him, and Atticus uses a lawyer's trick to get Jem to confess what they had been doing. Okay, next section, important quotes. For page 35, finders keepers. So this is kind of a childhood code. We're going to see a lot about growing up in this novel. So here, this is the way children view things. How do you view possession? Finders keepers. Okay. In page 38, we see Scout, you're acting so much like a girl. This is an example of prejudice. We see that Jem views girls as not being as good as boys. The fact that they don't play as tough, or that, they're not as fun to be around. So there is a sense of prejudice against gender as well as race. Just any kind of prejudging. Page 46, Atticus Finch is the same in his house as he is in public. So there's 2 parts to this. This also kind of relates to the idea of prejudice, the fact that Atticus is that fair-minded. He is going to give everybody the benefit of a doubt. He is not prejudiced the way that many in this town are. Okay, it also talks about the idea of secrets. Children hide or someone has been hiding in the tree things for the children, and the children find it because that's kind of how children hide things. Grown-ups tend to hide secrets, and that's kind of one of the keys in this. Atticus does not keep secrets. He is transparent. He's the same at home as he is in public. Some notes on themes and motif. On page 38, we see courage. So the fact that Jem gets the tire is fearless heroism. So again, the child's idea of being courageous and a hero is retrieving the tire out of the yard. Is it real courage? We're going to see what real courage looks like eventually in this story. Page 41, girls always imagine things. So this is again the kind of prejudice against girls, against gender. The idea that girls would imagine things. For page 45, Miss Maudie is presented as reasonable. This is something I mentioned before. The idea that she seems fair-minded. She's open to things. She's not quick to gossip, quick to judge the way that others are. She's presented as reasonable. Page 46, the closed door of the Radley house suggests secrets. So we talked about the fact secrets, things hidden, and that grown-ups kind of keep secrets. That's what they hide. So the idea that there might be secrets or things hidden in the Radley house. Page 49, the very last one, Atticus asks, how would you like it if this was happening to you? He is trying to have the children put themselves in someone else's shoes. This is, again, a very large theme, motif, a picture, that you need to put yourself in someone else's shoes, be able to see things from another person's point of view. Okay? That was your notes for chapters 4 and 5. We're reading chapter 6 today, and then we will have a study guide for parts 1 through 6.